Ladies, gentlemen, and everyone in between or beyond, welcome to another episode of Sockcast's Clears, a show where I have a clear that I think is interesting enough to talk about for your viewing pleasure and edutainment. Today we are in Minos on ME-8. I did say I was working on a bigger video, but that's taking longer than expected, so thankfully I did run into some inspiration here over here in Minos, and today we are going to be juicing the ever-loving daylights out of our boy Vigil. Now, Vigil is not a very frequently used operator. Let me be frank with you up front here. He is definitely off meta for very good reasons. I think a lot of people just don't like the kit very much. It doesn't have a lot of potency, but I like Vigil for what he provides, and I like him above the other tacticians simply because he has autocast skills. I am a fiend for just autocasting skills in Arknights, just because it makes things consistent and I know what to expect. So today we're going to make use of this kit and take it to the logical extreme. How tanky can we take Vigil's wolves in this stage? So we have multiple layers of how we're going to do this. Normally, you use tacticians to be temporary lane holders and role compression, essentially. They have the melee presence of the low ground with their summons, they have the sniper presence of the high ground, and you just kind of combine that together and get a little bit of DP generation. And we're not going to use him for the DP so much as we are going to use them for those summons. Now, if you've seen other challenge videos where we try to make an operator that is destined to eat the dust here, not die, we can't just throw medics at the wolves. They are not healable with medics, so we resort to alternative measures in this stage here. So a very fast setup right off the bat here. We have Vigil next to the fountain there, which we will be using Telopsis to charge, and also give Vigil an extra roughly 35% off, boosted SP regen that is above his normal here. So that's the first step here. The fountains will give 2 SP per second, which is huge. And while we do have increased skill costs here, as long as we have fountain control, we're going to be maintaining that for basically the entire clear here, with some exceptions. We also throw in Nasty here to give a little bit of extra SP on top of that, and we are going to have her use the high ground tile right below the fountain so that we can drop in a Scotty Altar to buff the stats of that summon. That is one of the ways that you can both buff the stats of and introduce a little bit of regenerative healing in there as well. Shu is on deck for additional SP battery and regen, and then we have Stainless on deck for the SP batteries that he provides. 2 of his cats are just vibing out with Vigil upper and lower there, so he's getting even more SP from that. And Vigil's skill 1 is what we're going to abuse here. Every time he casts a skill 1, he gets an additional wolf. And the way his wolves work is that normally it's just a 1-block summon here, but if he summons additional wolves, then basically it's like an extra life stacked on top of there. And here comes Xanthos. Hits very, very hard physically, but we also have Crown Slayer and the Fountain debuff to reduce his accuracy to basically nothing, effectively nothing here. And as you can see, these wolves are not dying. They are not taking any damage, and even if the initial attacks is enough to kind of, take them out in one shot, the wolves basically have 3 separate health bars that are 1100 HP each, and we can just abuse those to just kind of buffer the damage. We don't have to take all of that at once. The overflowed damage is not spilled over into the next health bar. And since we're regenerating them so fast with Vigil's skill here, it's kind of bonkers. These wolves will not fall for the entirety of this clear, and we're just going to be playing around that, basically. I first got inspired about this clear with Reclamation Algorithm, of course. This is actually one of the infinite stall tactics that Asadeka uses to go push the record runs. Entropy doesn't use Vigil for an Infinity Staller, but Asa does, so, naturally I gotta replicate it here outside of Sargon, and I guess this is the most fitting stage to do it on as well. I will make notice that these wolves aren't dying in one hit. Normally Xanthos' highest attack goes up to about 2,000 physical damage, but we can reduce that with defense, and then we also reduce that further with taking Vigil's Module X, or I guess Chi. It's always been Greek letters, and since we're in Minos, we should probably observe that here. Module Kai will give 15% damage reduction on top of that. So we are mitigating a lot of damage here, which is what allows us to actually take hits from Xanthos here without popping the wolf health bars immediately, and this is on top of everything else. We're also enfeebling Xanthos with Tin Man skill 1, a very fitting choice here for Art's damage, and that's going to quickly take down that phase 1 as I'm going over it here. And we're getting batteried as well, so very quick charge and uptime here for Tin Man. He's going to be taking care of those fountains as well, at least the one in front of him. The one behind a Sphinx statue did land, but we managed to mitigate that. It's important that we drop down Crown Slayer as often as we can to like keep up the accuracy debuff, so that's why we took Silver Ash actually. We're just getting a passive minus 10% redeployment time with that. And now in phase 2, Xanthos' attack does not lower, so it's always going to be like those 2,000 damage hits unmitigated, right? Hey, Editing Sock here. So I do have to issue a major correction after the fact here. I try to get these live commentated in like one take, just so that I can get the vibes right and also just, you know, cast it live and keep it casual so I don't have too much polish going on. I can get these out quicker. And unfortunately, Xanthos is not in fact doing 2,000 damage per hit. He hasn't gained any stacks from being unblocked. That's how he gains his attack, is by being unblocked and just running around like a chicken with its head cut off. But since he's just been sitting here blocked by the wolves all game, the stacks won't get removed, but he's already spent all the stacks, so he's at his base 1200 attack. And I reviewed the footage later, and I did the math on this, and it checks out. It's in the ballpark. The math gets kind of weird, but I'm pretty sure that he's just at his base 1200 attack, which, again, triple strikes, very punchy, but our wolves can handle it. And I also neglect to mention in my live commentary that Vigil's Module Kai also affects his talent, to where whenever the wolves lose a health bar, they will gain 50% dodge for about 10 seconds or so, and that is really huge. So we're stacking dodge, we're stacking accuracy reduction, we're stacking sanctuary, we are stacking damage reduction, final damage reduction, and we're stacking all of this on top of regeneration for the wolf pack and spamming out those health bars to make this basically functionally immortal, and these wolves are able to suppress Xanthos for the entire thing. Anyways, sorry about the cut in here. I just had to make sure that that was correct and clear in post. Of course, it's nice to prepare for the worst, and then if the worst doesn't come to happen, then we have a lot more wiggle room to get through it. And maybe he gets his stacks back on like the EX stages or some kind of remix in the future for like contingency contract or trials for navigators. So let this be a lesson, right? Let this be a lesson. Anyways, let's pretend that the worst case scenario is in fact happening, and my upcoming commentary will still be pertinent. And so the more we can dodge, the better. That's why we dropped Crown Slayer in that most crucial of times. And the illusion is going to start sucking up water here, which gives us a chance to just kind of pop skills and try to withstand the storm. The fountains being down does get rid of our SP battery and the 40% accuracy debuff that is inflicted upon enemies in range of those fountain tiles. So that was a crucial moment, but we managed to burst through it. We can juice up the SP gen with Stainless there. Look at that health bar getting low. I'm just trying to check to see if everything's working properly here. And Nasty will hold the top lane as well. Very important job there, since we want that illusion to die and deal extra true damage and some inflict a stun on Xanthos there to finish him off. Although we won't really need it. In fact, Nasty's going to definitely be dealing more damage than the wolves here and Tin Man alongside. But hey, we get it done in any way we can, and I think that's the real beauty of not confining ourselves to a niche here, is that we get to do goofy stuff like this, where anything goes. We can roll out the red carpet, and this isn't a free-to-play account. I've paid my fair share of enjoyment tax over the years here, ever since I've been playing since launch, and we're bringing out some really busted units here. We're not using all of them, but the nice thing about Arknights is that you can bring out whatever you dang well please, and as long as it works, it works. You can piece together stuff like this, and and over the course of me yapping here, the boss is already dead here. We took out the illusion first, and that caused the burst damage there to take care of the main boss's HP. Takes a lot of damage there, so try to take out that illusion first if you can. That illusion can deal a lot of arts damage to anybody who's not affected by fountains, which is actually includes the wolves here. So the wolves were taking extra arts damage on top of that. So yeah, pretty clean stage after all this power being slung here. I didn't really want to care to optimize this further down here because I'm just having fun, right? Like, if the game's going to give us units to play with, why do myself the disservice of not playing with them, right? Here we're going to replay the clear and show you the clear is indeed stable in auto deploy, and it takes a whole lot less time. And we'll take a look at the wolves here as the stage progresses once we get to a boss on stage, because it's really cool seeing these wolves tank all of this damage and have it all mitigated by stacking layers of mechanics here. There's never one correct solution in Arknights to do anything. There's always going to be an infinite combination of them, and it's up to you to find out like where the fun lies, right? What kinds of wacky combinations that works for you, whether you're looking for convenience and consistency. You probably look towards your quote-unquote meta options, but if you're just looking for anything that works, then you just kind of start to dig around the bottom of the barrel here and work with what you've got. And the more you experiment, the more you realize, hey, there are some connections here that we can kind of draw in between operators, and that's where my favorite moments of Arknights come out here. So here he comes, Xanthos. He gets that big movement speed burst, which is really goofy. And I neglected to mention earlier that we used Shu to kind of delay him here. I forgot about Shu's teleportation on skill 3, so I accidentally deployed Crown Slayer here on skill 2, no less, a little bit too early here. And I actually did go out of my way, by the way, to get Crown Slayer Module Kai instead of the module Gamma, which extends your stun duration. That's basically a skill 3 module, but since we're explicitly using Crown Slayer to affect enemy accuracy, then the optimal module to take is the first one. And, it was panned by many, and I don't blame them because it's not a very consistent one. It's a very difficult one to use, but we're just popping the chimney here as needed and using that smoke to art advantage, working with the mechanics of the stage. And I think that's the biggest thing, is that the problems in Arknights are always going to be context dependent. You're going to be in different game modes, you're going to have different stage mechanics that favor or disfavor different kinds of strategies, and you can stick to Arknights fundamentals by and large, right? The things that you learn in the beginning of the game, where you just have your simple medic defender combos, you have your guards and snipers and caster DPS, those fundamentals won't go away, but they will start to mess with you, and it's up to you to find those different, not necessarily niches, but different ways of solving the same problem based on what you have and what the stage and game gives you to really find your place in whatever Arknights task you have at hand. So anyways, yep, there goes the boss. Stable auto deploy, no problems there. Thankfully not a laggy one, otherwise we would have problems. And then of course we can just drop in Silver Ash afterwards to deal with the statues, since I didn't really want to sick anybody else on there here. His skill 2 will just help with the regeneration and make sure that he doesn't die to just these arts damage. And I gotta say, these statues and like the enemies in general in this level set are just like the goofiest things. I really enjoy it here. So that's gonna be it from me. So if you think you have a clear that I would find interesting enough to cast over, send it to me over Discord. My link is in the description, and you'll find a forum thread for you to post your submissions in. Otherwise, I will probably see you next episode with another clear of my own, if I get inspired, of course. If anything, finding inspiration isn't the time-consuming part, it's more so the editing, recording, and also the transcription that I have to edit for the YouTube captions. So hopefully you guys enjoyed that and appreciate my efforts here. If you do, like, subscribe, do all that stuff, and of course leave a comment. That matters the most to me here. I read all the comments on this channel when I can, and I will see you guys in the next one. Take care of yourselves and each other.